You're watching RT Live from Moscow, where it's now 4 a.m. Your top story this hour. The shelling of the capital of Georgia's breakaway Republic of South Ossetia has now stopped. Sinvali and the surrounding area were the focus of fierce fighting for more than 24 hours. Russia and the international community have called on Georgia to pull its troops out of the region. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev says Moscow will take appropriate political and military measures to stop the violence in South Ossetia. South Ossetian authorities claim 1,400 people have been killed and that Tbilisi's actions amount to genocide against the residents of the republic. Sinvali is said to be laying in ruins. 5 villages have been razed to the ground. Meanwhile, 2 towns in Georgia have been hit by Russian planes, according to the country's interior ministry. Local TV stations report people are being evacuated from some parts of Tbilisi. Meanwhile, evacuation is underway for residents of the South Ossetian capital of Sinvali and nearby villages. Both South Ossetians and Georgians are leaving the area. Those remaining hide in the underground shelters.
It's a real war out there in the city. No gas, no electricity, no communication. Our relatives don't know if we're alive or not.
We're here because yesterday Georgians attacked the city and the suburbs. So we have no choice because our homes aren't shelters. But we're glad we could hide here.
Thank you, Russia, for your help. Nothing else to say.
Russian peacekeepers are assisting locals who remain in the area. The Russian Emergency Ministry has sent a mobile hospital to North Ossetia, where thousands of refugees have fled from South Ossetia. The plane will take the wounded peacekeepers and civilians to Russian hospitals. President Dmitry Medvedev has ordered the government to take urgent measures to provide humanitarian aid to those leaving the conflict zone. However, moving the wounded and other civilians is said to be difficult at the moment.
There are many refugees. There is information that it's impossible to evacuate the wounded, along with women and children out of the city. They are being moved out of the nearby villages only.
Well, from our perspective, RT's own correspondent, Medina Kochneva, is from Ossetia. She says a lot of her friends and relatives are caught up in the crisis.
I've been to Sinvali back in my childhood, but primarily most of my relatives, they live in North Ossetia, and I do keep quite close contacts with them. Lately I spoke to one of my closest relatives, which is my aunt, and she told me some really horrible news about what's going on in the region. She told me that people were not aware of the situation. They never expected such a terrible reaction and such a terrible action. So she told me that most of men right now volunteer to go to war and join the war in South Ossetia. I think we can right now listen to some of the parts of the conversation with one of my closest relatives, and she told me she will tell us a bit more on that situation.
All the citizens of Vladikavkaz are horrified and shocked. Many expected some kind of an action from Georgia, but no one thought it might be so terrible. Many citizens are forming special volunteer forces. I heard information that the Georgian side were firing at ambulances to prevent injured people from being helped. If Russia doesn't get involved, there will be no war. Georgia will simply destroy the South Ossetian nation.
There is another side of the story, as it always been. It's been 2 sides of the story in every single situation. And I have some friends back in Georgia. I have some of my closest friends in Tbilisi. One of them, I've recently spoken to him. He's a young guy. He's only 21. He's been my friend from the university. So he told me as well some horrible news which is going on in Tbilisi. Young men are being conscripted to go and join the war, being forced to join the war, and it's primarily the age from 18 to 50. So lots of these men are right now hiding, not to being caught and being sent to war, and lots of these people left Tbilisi and they went to the country and they're trying to stay with their relatives, and their relatives are really worried about them. So I spoke to my friend over there, and he told me some really terrible situations which is going on over there, and we can now listen to him as well.
They're taking every man from the age of 18 to 50 for the war. They've taken some of my friends as well. That's why my family had to hide me somewhere in the country. I don't even know where I am. Young people are trying to leave Tbilisi now, as many are being forced to join the war. Women are crying for their sons. No one needs this war. However, it is calm in the city of Tbilisi. Many Georgians say South Ossetia is being taken, but lots of men and young guys are trying to leave. However, I was not able to leave Georgia.
I think that the main thing that I would like to add at the end of our conversation with you is that both sides, back in Tbilisi, my friends in Tbilisi, as well as my relatives in North Ossetia, they both say that Russian side should join the war and Russian military forces should join the war. The reason is that they all believe that this will make peace, and they're waiting for Russian side to join and to make peace in both regions, and this is they're hoping for, as I spoken to different people back in North and in South Ossetia.
Well, another of Georgia's breakaway republics, Abkhazia, says Georgia is building up its military across the Abkhazian border. Earlier, the republic's president, Sergei Bagapsh, expressed his readiness to help South Ossetia.
We are now moving our forces towards the Georgian border. Meanwhile, we are in contact with the peacekeepers, hoping they could do their mission too. We have never broken any agreements we signed. We continue to move towards the border, because today it's South Ossetia and tomorrow it might be Abkhazia. It cannot continue this way.